Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to the White Pine District Library Story Hour. Today we are going to talk about something that our bug friends and butterfly friends visit during the summer. And they are nice to smell and nice to see. And those would be different flowers. I don't know if you can see my flower. But we'll talk a little more about that flower in a few minutes. But right now I have a story called How Butterflies Came. And it talks about butterflies, but we're supposed to be talking about flowers today. So let's see what happens in our story and why we are talking about butterflies as well as flowers. How butterflies came. One day the flowers begged the fairies to let them leave their stalks and fly away into the air. We have to sit here in the same place from morning till night, fairies. Do let us go. Go then, dear flowers, said the fairies, but you must promise that you will return to your stalks before the sun goes down. We promise, called out the flowers, red, yellow, and white, as they flew away over the grass, out into the garden, to the great wide meadow beyond. The fairies' garden seemed suddenly to have taken wing. As the sun rose the next morning there was a flutter of stalks, and when the fairies came they found each flower again in its place. Well done! Well done! exclaimed the fairies. Tomorrow you may fly away again to the meadows. As the sun rose in the next morning there was a flutter of red, yellow, and white, as from every stalk a pair, let's turn the page, of colored wings rose and flapped and took flight once more over the meadow and fields. And by a day came when the petals of the flowers became wings, real wings, for the flowers themselves had become beautiful butterflies, red, yellow, and white. Now that story is found in a book that I have that's called A Little Child's Book of Stories. It's by Ada M. Skinner and Eleanor L. Skinner. And it's just a nice story that is out there about butterflies and flowers. Now, in our library, we have a lot of titles that talk about flowers and maybe butterflies and other bugs, like we talked about bugs last week. This book is one of my favorites. It's called Miss Rumphius, and its story and pictures are by Barbara Cooney. So this might be a story that you would like to check out from the White Pine District Library. It is about a lady and how she spent her lifetime beautifying the area around her. She goes on journeys, and her father, I believe it's her father, tells her there are a couple of things that she needs to do in her lifetime. And it's a very good story. He said that you must travel to faraway places and live by the sea. And her father says there's something else you must do, and that is you must do something to make the world more beautiful. Now I'm going to let that be and see how many people want to come in and check out that book to see what she did to make the world more beautiful. It's a very good story and one of my favorite. Some people call it the Lupin Lady book, and if you read the story, you will understand why. Now, there's a nursery rhyme that we all know, we adults, I should say, because if you're young and haven't learned it yet, you may not know it. But it's called Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Can't talk tonight. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Excuse me. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and pretty maids all in a row. Now, when I was a little girl, this little nursery rhyme talks about maids in a row. It reminds me of something I used to do with my grandmother. She used to have the most beautiful hollyhocks that grew in front of her house. And they'd been planted there by her husband's mother. And they were tall flowers that grew on stalks. And they had several blossoms that went up the stalks, and then there would be buds at the very top. Well, Grandma, when they were blossoming, she would have us come over and we would take those maidens that are growing on the stalk and turn them into young ladies that were going to the ball. And we did that by picking the flowers that were all the way open and picking one bud. And we took a toothpick and we put it in the bud and we put it in the blossom. And it made them look like young ladies in their ball gowns. And then Grandma would get this great big bowl down from the top of her cupboard and fill it with water. And then we'd put our ladies in their dancing dresses in that bowl and they'd float around on there. And if you blew onto them, they would dance across that water. And it looked like they were at a ball. Sometimes Grandma would hum a song while she was doing it. And after a while, they would get tired, just like we do if we go to a ball or a dance, and they would start to droop, just like we do. But you know what? That is something that I remember, and I have done it with my own children, and we always had so much fun doing that, making the dancing girls out of the hollyhock flowers. Something you should try at home. Now, we have been doing the little hand stories, and this one is a little different. It says, I am a seed, and I am very, very small. Plant me in the dirt, and I can grow very, very tall. I sprout, reach for the sun and stretch. First one leaf, then 2 leaves, then 3, and maybe 4. I drink the rain, take food from the ground to make a little bud. When the gift is ready and there is no more room to grow, the bud bursts open and petals unfold in a display of bright colors. The gift has opened and I can share with you my flower. So you have the seed and it's very small, very small, very small. And we're going to plant it in the earth. And it's going to grow and grow very tall and stretch and reach for the sun. And then it's going to grow 1 leaf, 2 leaves, 3 leaves, 4. And then it's going to drink that rain, take food from the ground, and make a little bud. And when that bud is ready and there's no more room to grow, that bud will burst open, and the petals will unfold in display of bright color. There is a gift, and it is the flower. So you're going to find a little sheet in your bag. If you get a busy bag, you'll find that in there, and you can make up your own movements to it. How would you be? Maybe you're the seed, your whole body, you squinch right down, and maybe you get planted in the ground, and then you're going to sprout, and then you're going to reach for the sun. Maybe you're going to do it that way. I don't know. You do it your way. See what you come up with. Now, we're talking about flowers today. Flowers are getting tired right now. There are a few. There's some wildflowers out there right now. Goldenrod is out there, and that's that yellow flower that we see in the fields. And it looks like a whole bunch of little flowers put together. And if you go by certain fields that have planted whole bunches of sunflower seed, you're going to see those big faces of sunflowers out there. And they tilt to the sun. Did you know that? They follow the sun. So one time, if you see them in the morning, they might be looking towards the sun that way. And then as the day progresses and the sun moves across the sky, the sunflower is going to follow that sun. And the next time you see them in the afternoon, they might be looking the opposite way. So look at those sunflowers and see what they're doing out there. They're a very cool flower. You can check out different books from the library that tell you all kinds of things about flowers. Maybe they're domestic flowers. Those are flowers that we buy the seeds in the store. They don't necessarily grow in the wild, but we can plant them in our flower beds and have beautiful flowers. And then you can also buy wildflower seeds now. They are more prolific. People are buying and have more of an interest of the wildflowers, so you can look for those in the store as well. But right now, you can see the wildflowers. You can see like the sunflowers. Right now in my garden, I have glads. Glads are flower that grow up a stalk. I have a very pretty one in there that's looks kind of a peach color. It's a salmon color. It makes me think of my grandma that made the dancing girls because that was the color she liked. And I plant those flowers because that's a flower that my dad liked. And he would always bring his girls glads. So I like to plant those in memory of my father. Now, you can get books from the library that show you, this is a guidebook on wildflowers. We have lilies like this. Sometimes in the summer you can see these Michigan lilies alongside the road. And then you can see the orange tiger lilies. But this book there are all kinds of flowers. Different shapes, different sizes, different colors. Let's see. Look at here. We have purple. But these are some different wildflowers. And you can find them in the meadows alongside the road. And then they're the domestic flowers that you can plant in your flower bed. They're beautiful. But you can check out these types of books. These are called non-fiction books. You can check out non-fiction books at the library, and they might give you some information on plants or flowers or maybe those bugs and butterflies. There's always those types of books in the library. So something to look at. If you're a person that likes those books about real things, that's my favorite type of book. I like to read nonfiction. You might like nonfiction. But if you want to learn things about the flowers, you can come to the library and check out some books about flowers. Now, I brought a flower from my garden. The garden is looking pretty tired right now. And this is a marigold, and I did pull him up. He will die now because I pulled him, but he's almost done. And if you look at the marigold, I'm going to hold him up. He might drip a little bit because I did have him in some water. Right here, these are his roots. Can you see those? They look like little hairs, don't they? But there's a whole bunch of them. And they take in the water and the different nutrients from the ground. That's how our plant grows. And then this is the stem. This is what came out of the ground first. So when in that little poem, when it says sprout, this was the part that came out first. And then as you go up, we have leaves. Now this one has all kinds of leaves. It's a more of a bushy type plant. But there's leaves. Let's see if I can get one up there so you can see it. And they are made up of, these leaves they're a compound leaf. They have a lot of little leaves that make one big leaf. So there's the leaves. Let's see. Over here, we have a blossom or the flower. And you can see the petals. And inside there, that's where the bees go to get nectar. That's where they get their food from. And I thought I had, yeah, right there it is. This is a seed pod. That's a flower that the flower's all done, and it's not going to do anything more. It is now making seeds, and if I open that up, there would be the beginnings of seeds that if I dried them and had let them stay in the plant stay in the ground, it would finish growing and the seeds would mature. And if I dried them, then I could plant them in my garden next year. So your plant basically has, your flower has the roots, the stem, which is this stalky part, leaves, and the flowers. Those are the four basic parts of our flower. And when you get your busy bag this week, you're going to find some things to do in there that talk about stems and roots and flowers and leaves. Now, speaking of the busy bag, we've only got a couple minutes and then I have to get out of here. But there's some things in the busy bag to do. That picture has something wrong with it. One side has been drawn, but half of it's not there. Do you think that you could finish it? Could you make the other side look like that flower? That's something for you to do in that busy bag. There's some alphabet work in there. There is a diagram that says, what are the parts of the flower? So we've got flower, seeds, stem, leaves, and roots. I wonder if you could do that. You can cut that out and glue those in there. See how you do. Get some help from moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas. There's some other things in there. Some of them are definitely going to need a little help. We have our little poem about being a seed and being planted in the ground. We have a couple surprises in there. We have a baggie that lets you be a gardener. There's a little pot. There's some substrate in there, and you can plant your flowers in that pot. And it's made so that you can put them in there, and if you don't like the way it is, then take them out and you can do it again. So you can be a gardener. So there's that. Oh, let's see. Oh, I need to show you this. Now, last week we had the alphabet cookies. This week we have numbers. Now, this one I started. This is the number 1, and there is 1 star. There's the number 2, and there are 2 stars. And it goes all the way up to 10. Now, some of them are not done. Some of them do not have their stars. So here we have number 9. So there are going to be a lot of stars. So you're going to have some sheets with stars on them, and you're going to be able to put 9 stars on this flashcard. So it might need some help with mom and dad, but if there's a dot there, that means there's a star there. So that's in your bag. So numbers and stars, and moms and dads, that's another way to work with your kiddos on recognizing numbers and starting to count, because they can look at that number and you can have them put the stars on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's something you can work on. There's a couple of craft projects in here. We've got some flowers we can make with pipe cleaners and paper and buttons. We have another flower that we can make with a popsicle stick. It looks like there's a butterfly in there. So there's some crafts in there. Most of these are just going to require some glue and a little bit of patience to let it set and dry. So I hope you enjoy the busy bags and have some fun with it. If you um, do some of the projects and you'd like to share it with us, you can send us a picture to the White Pine District Library. Let's see, White Pine District Library. I think it's, or is it White Pine Library? Anyways, you can send it to our email and we can share it with our friends. Okay? So, time has passed and I have to get out of here. So, I hope that you have a good day and you get outside and you look for some of those flowers and maybe you can figure out what is a leaf, what is a stem. Maybe you'll see the roots. I don't know. But look for those flowers. They could be anywhere in your yard. They could be alongside the road when you're driving in your car with mom and dad. You might see some. Now, next week, we're going to meet here again on Tuesday, and we'll have a new story hour. I think next week, we're going to talk about something that falls. It's beautiful in color, but it also changes from one color to another. I wonder what that could be. They are a lot of fun, too. I like to jump in them. So maybe you can figure out what we're going to talk about next week. Well, have a nice day, and we hope to see you here at the library. Come in and check out some books about flowers and butterflies and bugs and see what there is in that big world out there. Get outside, enjoy yourself, and have a nice day. And come visit us at White Pine District Library. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.